Hi guys. I have notes with me, don't judge me. I tried to use my phone once for this and I just got lost in them and everyone thought I was playing Pokemon Go, so I'm using paper. As you said, I'm Sherrie Rohde. I'm the community manager at Magento. If you don't know what that means, I also just remembered I'm short. If you don't know what that means, just ask me afterwards and I'll tell you. I'm not going to spend any time on that. But I am here to talk to you about building an inclusive Magento community. Is this supposed to be working? Yes? No? Anyway, eventually there's going to be a picture up here. It's still not. Nope, there we go. Cool. So there's a couple of reasons why inclusion is really important to me. First of all, it has been ever since I was really young. I used to try to invite pretty much the entire neighborhood to my birthday parties, and apparently my mom didn't want to pay for that, so I had to be exclusive, which I was not really a fan of. But moving along to, who here is it your first time at a Magento event? Okay, cool, some of you. So this was my first time at a Magento event. It was actually, cool. It was actually 2001. It was the first Imagine, and I was so nervous about going. I had such massive social anxiety that I almost didn't want to go, which is kind of crazy to think about now. That being said, this picture is from, I think, the opening night party, so I clearly got over that really quickly. Imaginary clicker. Awesome. So, full disclaimer, I am not a diversity expert by any means, even though it is really interesting to me. I did a lot of research for this topic, and if you want my notes later, I'm happy to share them with you. There's some great stuff out there. But it is kind of a terrifying topic to present on just because there is so much controversy and strong opinions and feelings out there around it. Next. I have a lot of slides. This is going to be a long process. Okay, so my friend's mom, and I find that friends' moms are usually the best ones to go to for advice because they know quite a bit. Once told us that if you want to change if you want to change the world, you have to change your corner of it first. First. It turns out my corner of the world, if you can go to the next slide, is pretty big these days. So there are Magento certified individuals in over 78 countries. On 6 of 7 continents, so I always say we need to teach the penguins how to Magento. Meet Magento Antarctica, anyone? I've been to 6 out of 7 continents so far, and if we can get that 7th one on Magento's budget, that will be nice. There are also Magento events in over 30 countries. This is just a sampling of them from Magento meetups to give you an idea of where they are around the world. And this is a topic that really has been top of mind for a lot of people in the community this year. So the faces you see up here are people who have started this conversation before me, whether it's been through the panel we did on increasing diversity in tech at Imagine, through various blog posts, through the Magento podcast during the Unconference, as well as Mage Talk podcast that we did on International Women's Day. Some of their ideas will be in the talk today, some are not. I have a list of them. You're welcome to them. What I really want to do is 2 things. I want to present an understanding of diversity and inclusion to you and how that pertains to the Magento community, as well as give you some actionable takeaways that you can apply right away. So first off, before we jump into inclusion, we have to start with diversity. For me, diversity is really anything that causes us to experience life differently from someone else. It's that plain and simple. If you are in UX, an easy way to look at this is through this. So we all know that we experience differently whether you're on OS X, whether you're on Windows, although RIP Windows Phone if anyone was still using it. Sorry about that. Linux, Android, all of these things make us experience the world in a different way. That's something we can all relate to easily. There are other elements of diversity. I think we often focus on the visible because that's what we can see. So we look at things like gender, we look at things like age or like race, but there's more to that than that. And when we look at more of the invisible elements and move beyond just gender and race, we really are able to look at the entire human experience, and it eliminates the us versus we. It helps us focus on the fact that we all have a unique thing about us, and it adds value to the world around us. Has anyone here heard of the Techies Project? Anyone? Okay, you've only heard of it because you've been in this talk before. So the Techies Project was actually done by Helena Price. What she did was she wanted to really take a deeper look into the diversity of the tech community in the Valley in San Francisco. And really what she wanted to get down to was the core of what diversity is really about. And it's not about percentages or filling quotas. It's really about the power of diverse perspectives, diversity of thought, and creating more comprehensive, informed ideas. So what she did was she actually reached out and had people submit stories about themselves and then picked 100 of them into this project. And I'll get a little bit more into that in a little bit, but it's just a really great way to see how different things factor into how we see the world. So she looks at things like educational background, at age, at changing careers, all kinds of different elements that help make up the differences in the space. Okay, who here has never been able to solve, or has ever had a problem that you couldn't solve on your own? Anyone? Be honest. Okay, all right. Your honesty is somewhere between those in Brussels and those in Poland. So that really is why we need different perspectives. It's that simple. So when you are able to get people who think differently in the room, they not only challenge your own brain to get outside of its stale thinking, but they also lend different ideas to it. I know Linus's law that they talk about in the open source world is that if there are enough eyes, then all bugs are shallow. And different skill sets can help you see a solution that you couldn't see on your own. One example of this is I know there was a facial recognition software, and they didn't actually account for dark skin in it. So because there were no people of color involved in the research of the project, they didn't realize that it could only detect faces with light-colored skin. Which is problematic. And obviously, if you had had broader representation in the research for the project, then you would have figured that out. Our community collaborates in a lot of different ways, and we have a lot of diverse skill sets, which is amazing. There's collaboration across GitHub through pull requests, issues, the MSI project, through dev docs and event organization, through event presentations, books, and so many other things. And it's because we have such a broad variety of skills that people are able to contribute in whichever way works for them, and it really helps improve our community together. A stat we got from Women Who Code, who we're partnered with in the States, or internationally actually, I believe, is by 2020 there will be 1.4 million computer science jobs available in the US. I'm sorry, I don't know that statistic worldwide. But there's only 400,000 potential computer science grads, which leaves 1 million of those jobs unfilled. Now, I know you don't have to have a computer science degree to work in computer science, but these are the numbers that we have, and it just gives us a picture of the problem that will happen. We also know that at Magento Partners in 2016, there are 11,000 jobs, and that's projected to be 36,000 jobs in 2020. Again, that's a big increase, and that's not counting all of the companies out there that are agencies or merchants or extension companies who may not even be counted in that number. So obviously, we need more people, right? One person who's really noticed this need and has done something about it is Kalen. Kalen Jordan has helped try to connect the need for people in Magento roles with Magento companies. I often tell people when they're looking for work, I'm like, well, have you tried learning Magento? Because honestly, you're going to get a job pretty easily if you can figure that out. But all of this is just to say that inclusion is crucial. So we need more people, we need more diversity of thought, and the only way that we're going to do that is with inclusion. And inclusion is something that we really have to be intentional about. So I have a few tips for you guys. I'm going to start first with some tips for those who organize events. So if you don't, bear with me. I'm getting your way, I promise. It does take a team, and we need to do this together. So I often hear from people, how do I get more fill-in-the-blank attending or presenting at my event? Let's be honest, 9 times out of 10, possibly even more, they're asking me about women. But that can really involve any element of diversity. One thing you can do is implement diverse representation. I apologize, it's not great contrast. So one thing we talked about actually when we were doing the podcast with Guido at the Unconference was looking at how you can encourage other people to be there based on representation, whether it's in photos or whatnot. And more or less, when someone sees a photo of themselves or a photo of someone like them, they see that they can be there too, and they can do that too because they identify that. So if you put more diverse photography into your event promotion, it's going to encourage more people that they can be there too. Going back to the Techies project, one thing she did that was really cool in this project was implemented this filter. So you can see, you can filter it by 50 plus, by switching careers, by gaming, by mental health, VCs, women, all these different areas, so that not only can you go there and find someone that you can identify with and be like, I can do that too, but you can also go there and learn about people who are different from you, which is just as important. Has anyone here seen Wonder Woman? Yeah, quite a few, cool. So I don't know if you saw this story, but this little girl met Gal Gadot at Comic-Con in San Diego, and she literally just started crying tears because she had finally met her hero and someone that she could see herself in. And I read something else when I was researching representation about someone who, with Miss Marvel, it really just helped her see that she could just be a stronger version of herself. She didn't need to be someone else in order to make a difference and in order to make an impact in her world. She had what she needed to do. And all of that is really through representation to help you know that you belong here, and you can do this too. Another area that you can do that I've seen done really well is offer a diversity scholarship. Companies are often eager to get behind this, and it really is just offering an opportunity to those who normally would not be able to attend your event to attend. I was talking to someone in our community, and they basically came to me and they're like, so what do I do if, they're like, basically like, this company that I want to sponsor my event won't sponsor it because I don't have any female speakers. I can't find any female speakers because it's a really niche topic. And I just can't find any. Like, they had researched through lists and lists of women in tech, lists of people in the Magento world. They've gone through like other key people in the PHP world looking for suggestions, and they couldn't find anyone because it was so niche. And my suggestion to them was, why don't you then offer a scholarship? If you're looking to get more women there in the future, offer a scholarship, because clearly there aren't at least enough women who are comfortable with speaking on the topic that are well versed in the topic. So let's get them there and let's help solve that problem for next time. And then I think my last tip for this one, no, sorry, I have one more after this. Second to last tip for this one is use expertise as a qualifier. Please don't ever go up to someone and say, hey, can you speak at my event because you're a woman? Or can you speak at my event because you're a person of color? Like, that's a massive turnoff if you're that speaker, just so you know. I've actually talked about this with minorities in our community, and they've said the same thing. Like, when someone approaches them, they want to be known for their we all want to be known for our expertise, right? Like, you don't want someone to come up to you and say, hey, can you speak just because like you are whatever your makeup is? Like, no, you want to be known for what you know and what you know well. Last but not least, has anyone seen Office Space? Okay, more people watch movies in this country than they do in Belgium. Not a lot more, but more. So in Office Space, for those of you who don't know, one of the main characters has to add like all these different buttons to her outfit, and they're called pieces of flair. And I've seen this done really well at conferences to help start conversations and encourage people to talk to each other, which I think really helps once you're there. So the example on the left, they had a few different topical buttons that you could put on, whether it was community, cloud, inclusion, and then they also had stickers on there. So the green sticker meant talk to me, the yellow sticker meant talk to me if you know me, and the red sticker meant don't talk to me, which I get it, I guess. I don't know why you'd be at an event if you don't want to talk to anybody, but I'm sure that reasons exist. And then the one on the right there from DrupalCon, I thought it was really cool. The diversity team was handing out smiley face buttons to anyone who wanted to put them on their badge just to say, hey, you can come talk to me. I'm a friendly person, and I'd love to meet new people. All right. You guys still with me? Okay. Thank you. Glad my boss is listening. So moving on to individual inclusion. These are tips I want you to take away and start applying the rest of today and tomorrow and going forward. Some of them I tweeted out already, but be accessible. If you're still speaking today or tomorrow, make sure that you invite people to come talk to you afterwards. Don't go hide, but make it easy for people to find you. Maybe share things that they can talk to you about outside of the actual topic too, in case it's easier for them to connect that way. The Pac-Man rule. Who here knows what the Pac-Man rule is? Okay, like a third of you, cool. So the Pac-Man rule is quite simply, if you're standing in a circle, leave room for one person to join. It can be a little bit intimidating to walk up to people who seem to all be best friends for life, even though they probably just met 10 minutes ago. But if you leave that gap open, people are more willing to walk up. And go a step further than that, and if you see someone hovering because they're not quite sure that they should join, invite them to join, because that happens a lot too. And it's just a really easy way to include people. And then create space. I think I heard the phrase culture add versus culture fit one time, and I think that's really cool. It goes back to that diversity of thought. If we can add more perspectives to our conversation, it's just really great. And in creating space to do that, you can really advocate for those around you. Maybe you can't go through with a speaking commitment, or you're just not available for something. You can recommend someone who might normally not get that idea, or just didn't volunteer themselves. I think that's a great way that you can create space for those around you who wouldn't normally be included. I keep trying to use the pointer this way, but the computer's over here, so it's not working. Be a mentor. I think mentorship is really important. There's a couple of ways that you can identify yourself as a mentor out there. Before I get to that, Mage Titans Italy this year, which was Andra and Alessandro and Rebecca, offered a mentorship program for new speakers, which I think is pretty cool. And what that actually resulted in was 50% of the speakers who applied had never spoken at an international event or were brand new speakers, which is pretty fantastic. Those are really good results. A couple ways that you can really identify yourself for this is through, there's a site, php-mentoring.com, or .org, I think .org. I forget who runs this, I apologize. But you can go on there, list yourself, tag yourself as Magento. There were 3, I think Sandra signed up after we shared this, so now there's 4. So obviously there's a lot of room for more mentors on there. Likewise, if you want to learn something, go on there and find a mentor that is versed in that. And then Commerce Hero, actually, Kaylin and I were talking about mentoring, I don't know, a year ago or so, and so he added the ability to mark yourself as a mentor on Commerce Hero as well. Or you can go to commercehero.io/mentor, I think, and find someone who is available. Make sure you educate yourself. I think often what holds us back from diversity is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of people who are different from us, fear of wanting to do or say the right thing but being called out on not doing it the proper way. And so much of that is really just educating yourself. There's a lot to learn out there. Like I said, if you want my notes, I'm totally happy to share you full transparency. There's like 20 pages of them in Word, so they're kind of intimidating, but they're very well sorted. But also I would recommend this book called Blind Spot. It's about the hidden biases of good people, and it really just helps us realize biases that we didn't know we have that shape our view of the world and those around us. And it's pretty eye-opening. I haven't actually finished it, disclaimer, but it's really good so far. I'm about halfway through it, and it's been really useful. It's just a lot to process. I think maybe this is my last one, I can't remember, but follow people who are different from you. So if you're not familiar, we have a program called Magento Masters. This is our top contributor program. And I say that not to say that all these guys are different from you. Some of them may be, some of them may not be. One of them might be in this room. There are 2 of them, maybe just 2. Anyway, They represent 12 different countries and several different pockets of our community. And if you follow them, you can rabbit trail into other pockets of the community and find those who maybe you don't know. It always amazes me, I guess the 2 years that we've done Masters so far, when we're able to get a chunk of them in the room together, there's so many of them that don't know each other, and that blows my mind. Although in my head, like if I know this person and this person, then they must know each other. But I just think it's a really great way to find other areas of the community and find people that you may not know and people who may think differently than you. Last but not least, as was mentioned this morning by Ben, say hi to people you don't know. Before you leave, make sure you've met at least 5 new people. It's not a really hard target, but if you really feel like you can't possibly do that, maybe aim for 3. For sure, make sure you've at least met 1. So yeah, that's how to find me. Please reach out. Please come find me afterwards. I can talk about a lot of things for a long time, unrelated to these. You can talk to me about whale watching. You can talk to me about kickboxing. You can talk to me about interior decorating, which I know nothing about, but pretend to. So thanks, guys.
As always, if there are any questions, please don't be shy. Okay. Oh, we have one. Ben. I was joking.
Hi, just a quick question regarding maybe a different type of community for the Magento users versus, because there are a few Magento communities for developers and people who work in the ecosystem, but what about for the end users? And I'll give you an example. I'm going to mention the bad word. Shopify has a user-generated Facebook group, which I know that they have about 57,000 members, and it's not necessarily people posting code questions, as it's more about how do I grow my business and how do I make an impact?
Yep. Yeah, no, totally good question. I think that you're right in the Magento world because it is open source. What we see the most is the developer community. The merchant community, the user community is there. There is an area on our forums for merchant conversation. There are LinkedIn groups and Facebook groups for merchant conversation. And beyond that, there are always dedicated business tracks at events where those conversations are facilitated as well. So it's definitely something that can grow, but it is there. It's just not as obvious as the technical community. Anything else? So Ben and Max and Marius and I are doing an Ask Me Anything tomorrow as well. Also, you can find us anytime, but at least save some questions for then so we're not sitting there saying nothing. But you can ask us anything.
I have a couple of them for tomorrow, so.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.